Starlink has recently added a couple of cheaper service plans to their lineup. You can now get Starlink Residential 100 megabits per second for just $50 per month, or you can jump up to Residential 200 megabits per second for $80 per month. And those two new plans join Residential Max at $120 per month to complete the lineup. Now with these lower cost plans, I've been seeing a pretty common question pop up, both in comments and online in social media forums. Is residential 100 megabits per second fast enough for modern internet usage? I've been a Residential Max subscriber for over 5 years now, but these two new cheaper plans recently popped up as options for my area, and that gave me a little bit of an idea for a challenge. What if I were to switch from Residential Max to Residential 100 megabits per second, which is Starlink's slowest and cheapest plan, for an entire month, just to see what would happen. And then I would be able to finally answer the question once and for all, is residential 100 megabits per second fast enough? So that's exactly what I did. I switched to the 100 megabits per second plan and just lived my life like normal, doing all the things that I normally do with my home internet. I work from home, my wife works from home, I do online gaming, video streaming, uploading large files, downloading large game files, all the normal stuff. And this video is my report of how that month-long experiment went. But before we get too far into the month-long challenge, let me give you a brief overview of Starlink's service plans. So all of the plans, whether it's residential 100, 200, or max, they all come with unlimited data. They all come with similar equipment. The main difference between all those plans is the download speed. So residential 100 megabits per second and residential 200 megabits per second, those plans have their download speed capped at their respective speeds. So 100 megabits per second max download speed for the 100 megabits per second plan. It's also worth mentioning that availability varies as well. So those three plan options are available in most places except for congested areas, which you may only find the Residential Max plan available. So with that out of the way, let's get to the actual month-long challenge and how it went for me. I've broken this review down into sections based on the activity like online gaming or streaming or working from home. So you could browse the video chapters if you're just looking for something specific. But otherwise, here's how my month-long challenge went. Let's talk about streaming first, because that's not only the most common thing that people do with their internet connections, but it's also one of the most demanding activities that you could do. So streaming in our household is pretty simple. There's just two adults here, just me and my wife. And we typically watch the same 4K TV in our living room. But there are occasions where, I might be wanting to watch the game and she doesn't want to watch it. So she goes into the other room on our other 4K TV to watch something else. And over our month-long challenge, there's really no difference in our video streaming between our two 4K TVs. And that makes sense to me. I wasn't surprised there because a typical 4K video stream will use around 20 or more megabits per second. And if you have multiple 4K streams going, even the residential 100 megabits per second plan has enough bandwidth to offer to be able to support that. Now, although my own streaming situation isn't that interesting, there wasn't much to report on when I downgraded to residential 100, I did run kind of a stress test, if you will, to see if I could notice any differences between max and residential 100. What I did was I started up multiple streams simultaneously to simulate a larger household. So I had two 4K TVs that I started 4K movies on, and I had two laptops which I was streaming YouTube at 1080p. So in total I have 4 devices streaming simultaneously, 2 of them in 4K, 2 of them in HD. And if we look at the throughput graph in the Starlink app, it gives us a pretty clear picture of what's going on. So to start out, I just started one 4K stream on a single TV, and you notice at the beginning it sort of maxes out my connection, goes over 100 megabits per second. That's just kind of testing my internet connection and also downloading a little bit to build up the buffer of that movie. And then it kind of evens out. It declines from there and kind of settles around the 20 megabits per second range for a single 4K stream. Then I added in a second 4K stream, and you can see again, it kind of maxes out, goes over 100 megabits per second. That's just testing my internet connection and building that buffer again for that second 4K stream. And then it settles out between 30 and 40 megabits per second, which makes sense for two 4K streams. Then I added in the two laptops, which were both streaming HD video streams. And I had a little bit of an issue there. One of the laptops started a Steam game download, and maxed out my connection. I couldn't figure out what was going on for a few minutes. I finally got that Steam game download stopped, and then it leveled out again. And you can see here, based on this graph, the HD streams don't use a whole lot of data. I mean, probably under 5 megabits per second for a YouTube HD stream. But you can see here with those total of 4 devices running, 2 4K and 2 HD, I'm sitting around 40 to 50 megabits per second on average in terms of my throughput rate, which is only half of what the residential 100 megabit per second plan can offer. And it's also worth noting, even when that Steam game download was happening, which was hogging up all the bandwidth on my connection and maxing it out, there was still no buffering whatsoever on any of the streams. During this test, which lasted 20 or 30 minutes or so, I just basically walked around to every screen just to make sure that there was no buffering, there was no quality downgrade, there was no stuttering or anything like that, and everything was perfectly fine. So for streaming TVs and movies on Starlink's cheapest plan, residential 100 megabits per second, I can confidently say that it works just fine, even if you have a larger household with 4 devices streaming simultaneously. Now I will say, if you have a larger household and you're going to be running more than 2 or 3 4K streams simultaneously, I definitely recommend bumping up to at least residential 200. Double your bandwidth there, and that will make it a lot more comfortable to stream those 4K titles, which at certain high quality bit rates can exceed 30 or 40 megabits per second for a single stream. So if you're going to have a larger household with a lot of people streaming at once, it might be worth checking out the higher tier plans. But for a normal average everyday household, I think residential 100 megabits per second is perfectly fine in this streaming department. Working from home is another area of concern for people looking to switch or buy residential 100 megabits per second from Starlink. I share that concern. I work from home. My wife is hybrid. She works from home sometimes as well. So we need a solid internet connection to make that happen. Something that's reliable, something that's low latency. For me specifically, the kinds of tasks that I do are mainly uploading large video files to YouTube and to the cloud. I do email and do a little bit of web development, working on the blog. My wife has a more traditional remote role, so we're in her office right now, and she has a company provided voice over IP line that she is on the phone all day. She does video conferencing, answering emails, answering instant messaging, and downloading, uploading small files regularly throughout the day. Now, starting with me, during this month-long challenge, I didn't notice any difference whatsoever in my workflow. So the most demanding thing that I do is uploading large video files to YouTube. And the thing about residential 100 is that the upload speeds are not capped, they're not restricted. And I got the same upload speeds on residential max that I did with residential 100 megabits per second. And that typically resulted in about 20 to 40 megabits per second on the upload. My wife didn't notice any changes either when we did the downgrade for the month. And actually it's funny because I didn't even tell her that we were downgrading or making any changes whatsoever. I didn't want the placebo effect to come into play, so I just didn't tell her. At the end of the month, I did ask her, hey, have you had any issues working from home on the Starlink connection recently? And she didn't report any significant issues, any issues whatsoever actually. So no news is good news there. So Starlink residential 100 megabits per second definitely passes the work from home test. Nothing that most people do is going to be too demanding as far as internet bandwidth, so I don't think you'll have any issues. And even when I was like taking a lunch break and watching a 4K movie or something downstairs while my wife was working, didn't cause any issues whatsoever. So residential 100 is just fine for remote work. Next, let's talk a little bit about online video games and how that performs on residential 100 megabits per second. That's a big question that people have. I think a lot of people assume that you need the highest download and upload speeds to have a good online gaming experience, and I haven't really found that to be the case. In fact, the most important thing for online gaming is going to be latency and your connection quality in terms of if you have ping spikes or if you have any packet loss. Before I got Starlink, I had 5 megabit per second DSL, super slow, and I was still able to game on it pretty well actually, as long as nobody else was using up bandwidth on my network, that is. So you don't need a whole lot of actual bandwidth to have a good gaming experience. The most important thing is latency and packet loss. So during my month-long challenge, I played all of the normal games that I usually play. My most commonly played game is going to be Rocket League. Now I've been playing this since 2016, so I played it across a variety of bad connections and good connections. So I have a pretty good idea when I switched from Residential Max to Residential 100, whether there was any change or not, just because I've gotten so used to playing it and how it behaves. Rocket League is a good example to show you because it's a fast-paced game, kind of like a first-person shooter where little movements matter, and any lag, any ping spikes, any extra latency, especially the variations from low latency to high latency, are very noticeable while you're in the game, and they translate into a very bad overall experience. So Rocket League is a great game to kind of experiment with this on, and I'm happy to report that I didn't have any issues whatsoever during my month-long challenge. In fact, if you didn't tell me that I had switched, I wouldn't have been able to tell the difference. I got the same latency on Residential Max as I did with Residential 100. So in Rocket League, for example, if I connect to a central US server, I'm located in the central US, I would get anywhere from 30 to 35 milliseconds of ping or latency. If I had to connect to a West Coast or an East Coast server, it was slightly higher, between 40 and 45 milliseconds, and that's completely normal for me. Historically, that also compares directly with Residential Max, so same latency before and after the switch. I also downloaded Counter-Strike 2 just to add in a first-person shooter. That's a pretty popular first-person shooter, and I wanted to try out a new game just instead of my usual to see if there was any impact there as well. And same latency. I connected to Counter-Strike servers between 30 and 40 milliseconds usually, and there was no noticeable lag or anything on the Residential 100 megabits per second connection. Now, one area of video games that I did notice a change from max to 100 megabits per second is the amount of time that it takes to download a game file. So I downloaded, just a 10 gigabyte update for one of my games, and that took quite a lot longer on Residential 100 megabits per second as opposed to Residential Max that I had before. And that's pretty obvious and expected, right? Because the 100 megabits per second plan has a download cap of around 100 megabits per second. And when I was downloading that game, I was actually downloading at a rate of over 100 megabits per second in some cases. And that just takes a lot longer. So depending on what types of games or files you're having to download, it is just going to take longer for that to happen on the slower, cheaper connection. But besides the downloading of large game files, I can report to you that there is no difference whatsoever online gaming, at least in my case, from Residential Max going to Residential 100 megabits per second. So I've covered streaming, working from home, online gaming, pretty much everything else, all the other minor little basic internet activities like Wi-Fi calling, video calling, browsing the internet, checking email, checking social media. All those basic things were completely unaffected during my month-long Residential 100 megabits per second challenge. Really nothing interesting to report in that area. It was the same experience as what I had with Residential Max before. But I did want to mention the performance logging that I did. So I ran an automated speed test every night during peak usage hours around 8 p.m. for my Residential 100 megabits per second connection. And I wanted to measure average download speeds, average upload speeds, and latency as well. And the download speeds were actually pretty consistent, which is to be expected. You have that 100 megabit per second cap. And generally what I saw is that even during peak hours, my download speed was right around 100 megabits per second. There were some days where it did fluctuate slightly lower, quite a bit lower, or even a little bit higher. And I chalk that up to just the variable of speed testing, which is not an exact science. There are a lot of variables there that could affect that. Upload speed was the same story. So on my automated speed tests, they range from below 20 megabits per second to above 40 megabits per second. It was just kind of random. And it's worth noting that I experienced the same thing on my Residential Max connection. So I had the same automated speed test running before I made the switch to Residential 100, and I saw those same variances. Now, obviously, with the Max connection, my download speeds are going to be a lot higher. I would typically get over 300 megabits per second, oftentimes over 400 megabits per second outside of peak usage hours. So Residential Max is definitely a lot faster, at least in my area, compared to Residential 100, but really just in the download speed area. Everything else is pretty much the same. Upload speed, latency, reliability, all those things about the connection besides download speed were roughly the same. Okay, so to wrap up this video, I spent a month, actually it was over a month, Really, we're on almost 2.5 months now because honestly, I've just forgotten to switch back. And I think that says everything. There was no difference between Residential Max and Residential 100 megabits per second, at least in my use case. Yes, the download speeds are slower, but you have to factor in the savings into that as well. So $120 per month for Max versus $50 per month for the 100 megabits per second subscription is very significant. And I think that for most households, it's going to be worth switching to one of the lower cost plans, just at least to try it out. If you have Residential 100 or Residential 200 available in your area, that is what I recommend. Try it out. Worst case scenario, it doesn't work for you, you can always upgrade to the next level. For smaller households like mine, where you don't have a ton of devices streaming or online gaming or downloading simultaneously, the 100 megabit per second download cap is really not a big deal, and you might not even notice it. But if you have a larger household, let's say over 4 people who might be using devices simultaneously, then that is where you might run into some issues, and I'd recommend at least bumping up to Residential 200 megabits per second. But even if you switch from Max to the $80 per month Residential 200, that's quite significant savings there every month. So it's definitely worth exploring, even if you have a larger household and more bandwidth needs than Residential 100 could provide. I am going to switch back to Residential Max, but only because I like to keep track of Starlink speeds, and you have to be on the Max plan to get the fastest speeds. If I wasn't a content creator, if I wasn't making content for you guys and following Starlink closely, and I was just a regular customer, I would definitely stick with Residential 100. It's met my needs so far for this month-long challenge, and I think for most people it will be just fine. I'd love to hear from you if you have any questions for me about my month-long challenge or Residential 100 megabits per second. If this video was helpful or informative or entertaining, make sure you go ahead and subscribe to the channel so you never miss any future videos. I always appreciate you watching, and I'll see you in the next video.